The whole world is struggling with COVID-19 these days, and in Sri Lanka, in addition to this struggle, we also have another controversy, kind of issue, really. This is about the right to have a burial or cremation when a COVID patient died, and it has become somewhat political, and also it's become a very sensitive issue in a way because of the religious components with this issue. So, what for this special Boston Lanka program, we are joining with Shenaz Davis Marikar, Dave Marikar. And yeah, so happy to have you, Shenaz, with us this program, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Shenaz is joining from Maryland, and she's a lead scientist for foodborne outbreak for Maryland Public Health Lab, and presently she's working as the scientific support director at Medical Marijuana Commission for Maryland Department of Health. And she has a lot of experience. I can go on and on, but maybe we can also tell a little bit as we go, as we having this conversation. She has regulate independent testing laboratories and processing plants registered or licensed for the state of Maryland, and have overseen all operations during or after inspections, audit for independent testing labs, and on and on. And in addition to that, I should say that she has also very vocal and in a way somewhat instrumental in organizing and mobilizing protests in Washington D.C. area for unforced cremation of those who died from COVID Sri Lanka, and in fact recently we had one. So to begin this conversation, Shenaz, could you share a little bit about the demonstration you had last Saturday, that is January 2nd, in Washington, D.C. area, and also how did that go, and just talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So being in Sri Lanka and being a instrumental part of the community over here, we had lots of Sinhalese, Christian, Burgher, and Hindu nationalities, around the Maryland area, but we were very disturbed to hear what was going on in Sri Lanka. Growing up in Sri Lanka, we didn't see that kind of a divide over there or any injustices going on, at least, towards the community. There was a civil war. We just came out of it, but we thought everything was fine. But then we heard about, the cremation situation in Sri Lanka. And then me and two other friends of mine were very disturbed about it, and we said, we should start something and do something about it instead of just just waiting, and looking at all the different posts which is coming on Facebook and WhatsApp and so on. So the three of us got together overnight, kind of created this team called Sri Lanka United, and then within a week or less than a week, actually, we were able to get permits. We were able to send letters to the senators and congressmen over here. And then we also, so we started the protest with a car rally, which was at the National Cathedral, and then we moved on to the press conference, which was in front of the National Capitol, which we also got a permit for that as well. And then from there on, we moved on to the to across the White House in the President's Garden. So basically, kind of voicing our opinion, letting the government of Sri Lanka know, like, this is not right, do something about it. It's except for Sri Lanka and China, the rest of the world has accepted to bury the COVID-19 patients, as well as, if they choose to cremate them, they're given that option to do so as well. So we were very, very disturbed. And that's why we kind of started this movement, and people from all over kind of joined the protest. People came from North Carolina, South Carolina, Chicago, New Jersey, New York, and DC metropolitan area, Virginia and Maryland and stuff. So it was a good crowd, and I think it went well for a short period of time. I mean, for less than a week, we were very happy with what we were able to accomplish.
So you got any U.S. policymakers to join?
Yes, so we had like somebody from American Jewish community who works with this, and kind of different people who were able to come for the press conference. And we were also able to send the press conference to different parts of the government as well. as well as, other news media outlets and stuff like that. So we were able to do that part at the press conference, and the picketing was just anybody, and because the permit for press conference is limited to, for the picketing part. So for the picketing, there was a lot of people there. So the press conference, just the people who are only part of the press conference was there at that, in front of the Capitol. And then, the car rally, we had lots of cars lined up. We went past the ambassador's residence and stuff, like we had a route, pre-planned route. And when we came, kind of ended at the Constitution Avenue in DC.
Now, Shenaz, this one could have an issue about this term, this forced cremation, because obviously one could argue that the government just didn't come up with this policy without any rationale, that they had some recommendation from academic group, although you may have different views about the academic group and their qualifications and all that, but at least government went through a process before they took this decision. So can we say this is a forced cremation?
Yeah, because when the government did make this decision, usually, like I could talk about United States because I work with outbreaks and I've worked for over 10 years of my life over here in the US, right? And I've done worked on multinational outbreaks and multi-state outbreaks as well. So when we make a statement or when we kind of put a regulation in place, we will, consult the epidemiologists. Like if it's the virology or microbiology section, we will consult the microbiologists, virologists, and the epidemiologists and come together with the policymakers to make a policy or pass a regulation. And even that's what I do, even with Maryland Department of Health, currently as a director there, So we don't but you need to have the subject matter experts to make that decision and give that advice to the government to make that a policy change or the regulation change. So I don't think the people who gave that recommendation when they put it on to say that you can only forcefully kind of cremate the bodies, I don't think they took into account, they consulted the right people to do that. So that's, So that's why we feel like, and they're not given that option. Like in the United States, if you go to the CDC website, there's a section saying, funeral arrangements, you can either bury or cremate. But apart from in Sri Lanka or China, they're the only two countries in the whole world who's actually burying the bodies. And even WHO has come out and said you can go ahead and bury the bodies. But Sri Lankan government has not listened to the experts, and they've listened to so-called experts in Sri Lanka who are not virologists or microbiologists or the epidemiologists there. So that's why we feel it's forced.
Right. Now, you obviously you are a scientist, you have a lot of experience in bioscience and all that. So in your experience, how do the USA deals with those patients who died on COVID? Do you have an option of having a burial or cremation, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we do have the option here. If a patient, first of all, whether it's the mother or a child or a father who, it's a traumatic situation, right? So the US really deals with in a sympathetic fashion as well as a scientifically based, way, because they have to protect themselves as well as the public, right? So, but if you go to the CDC website, it's www.cdc.gov, and there's a section called funeral arrangements. In there, it'll show you clearly, like a patient can be, if they die out of COVID-19, they can either, can be buried or cremated in the US.
Right. So now I read somewhere that especially this about this whole cremation, this practice of cremation is in violation of the fundamental teachings of Islam that prohibits cremation, which is believed to be a desecration of the deceased. Do you agree with that?
Yes. So in Islam, they say when a person dies out of anything, basically, that first you'll wash the body, and then you'll kind of wrap with white cloth. Those are the fundamental things you do when a person dies. And then you would say some prayers, and then you will bury the patient or the dead body, right? So, but in this case, that those options are not given to them either, right? So they're immediately taken and they're cremated. So, and in Islam, they believe, I mean, we all believe like, someday we will, there's kind of when the world ends, we're going to come back, and have to answer to our Lord, so for that, we should kind of have, so that's one of the reason, like, we don't want to bury, because, we want to bury, we don't want to cremate the body, because we want it to be kind of the soul to be intact. I mean, like it's a religious belief. This is just a belief that the Muslims, and I think the Jews and some Christians also believe the same thing. Like, and the Christians believe too, like there's a world end, and kind of they have the similar kind of belief, and the Jews do as well. So we all kind of like want to bury the body, instead of being cremated, and that's a religious belief. So what we are saying is, you have to respect all religious belief. It's a fundamental right. When you die, you or your family members should have the right to decide whether you want to bury the body or cremate the body, but in this case, it's not proven that, the reasons what the government gave, that burying the body can actually have an effect on the living people in Sri Lanka. And that is the problem here. Now, if there was some kind of evidence, fundamental fact and evidence they are saying, and scientifically proven this can have an effect, then of course, go ahead and do what's best for the mass, right? But if there is no evidence, there is no fact-based reasoning why you're telling the people that you have to cremate the body, so then that's when it becomes a fundamental right. Like, we want a peaceful funeral, we want a proper burial, basically, according to their religious beliefs.
So you don't believe that, because obviously the government position is that that groundwater, when you have a burial, the groundwater will be contaminated with this. No. So you don't believe in that?
No, because a virus especially can be passed through a living cell, right? For it to be alive, it has to have a living cell. And when a person dies, and after a short period of time, all the cells of that person is dead. So there's no way you can pass it on. So by the time the person dies, by the time you kind of bury the person, the body disintegrates, and to get it to the groundwater, it's a serious thing. Then I would raise the question: what about the people who actually has COVID-19? Who is alive, and then they're using this water. What happens to that, right? You brush your teeth, scientifically, like you're spitting into the sink. What happens to that, right? Basically, at the end of the day, let science speak to itself. So you need to know what a virus is, where does the virus live, how is it transmitted, and how long can it live? Yeah.
So in other words, I think I also read somewhere that the virus cannot live with in a dead, like it will germinate on a living cell.
Die off, yeah.
So in that case, so I don't understand why they don't even allow people to go and pay respect for dead person. There's no way they can be exposed to the.
Yeah, there is no way. Yeah, absolutely. It's not founded. That's why the WHO, the CDC, who are experts, when they make these decisions, they're not going to put the whole world at risk, especially the WHO or CDC. Like, we have millions of people who are living in the US, right? A lot of people look up to the US for scientific reasons. So they will not come out and just say something if it's not fact-based on. So that's why the CDC says, go ahead and bury. That's why the WHO says, go ahead and bury, So we, as Sri Lankans, as Sri Lankans Americans, we kind of like plead to the government, like, listen to the experts, consult them, get their opinion, look at the websites, talk to them. I'm sure somebody at the CDC might be willing to reach out, they can reach out to them, or the WHO, to kind of like, discuss this matter and come up with a good agreement so that it's peacefully, everybody's happy at the end, and, kind of like you respecting everybody's rights. And let's have a united Sri Lanka at the end. We don't want segregation. We don't want extremism. We don't want in any religion, basically. And this will cause, might have multiple effects later on in the Sri Lankan political future, or the younger generation moving on. And we don't want that. We just came out of a civil war. We don't want that happening in Sri Lanka. We want a happy, consolidated, together Sri Lanka, where all religions and all communities can live in peace And just like when I grew up, like even here, like I have some of my best friends are Catholics and Buddhists, and like we go to each other's houses, we stay over, we go on trips. Let's have, respect each other as human beings, basically.
Yeah, I think this sometimes this it could be politics that probably overshadow the science, or even I think sometimes this happens even in USA. You know that
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
people, even politicians, tend to ignore
yeah.
science. So this could be the reason. But I mean, you are not only a scientist, but you're also like a social activist. What is your gut feeling? Why this is happening in Sri Lanka? I mean, when all the world is allowing this, why this is
Yeah,
happening?
it is strange. It's only like China and Sri Lanka, the only two countries who are saying, and they're hell bent on, till, I mean, even after the experts have spoken, they still haven't come out and said a ruling like, don't do this, right? Or let's, give them the opportunity to be ready. So I just feel it's more of a political reason, and it's like, it's community based, because not everybody, like most of the, it depends. I think it's more like, I think it's a political reason, and there must be a kind of a targeting the communities who are not the majority, and that's probably the reason why this is happening. And what we feel is, if we are here, at least we're doing a little we can. Maybe we're giving some kind of strength to the people in Sri Lanka, saying we are here for you. We understand your plight. We understand, that we are empathetic towards the situation. We're sympathetic towards the situation, as human beings. So that's why we kind of like, had this picketing and all that stuff going on. Yeah.
But Shannon, then somebody can say, well, you are trying to uh, take this internationally. You are trying to politicize this internationally, trying to take a Sri Lankan issue to US and all the other, and maybe bring a little bit disrepute to the name or the image of the country.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is sad, but unfortunately, it doesn't matter which part of the country or which part of the world we are in, even in the US, even if our president is doing something wrong, US is a country we stand up and say, President, you're wrong. And you've seen on like women's protest and gay rights and you name it, right? Like there's so much of protest which goes on in the US, right? But this is a country where we have freedom of speech, freedom to express how we feel, and we feel as one of the top nations in the world, it is our responsibility to kind of tell, like, and we have the luxury because we have a really good education system here. We have like the resources where we can actually go and look into and kind of so that's why we feel like maybe the government will listen to us. That's our goal. It's not about anything else. Maybe the Sri Lankan government, maybe we did something to help them to think twice, or maybe made them curious about why we are saying what we are saying, and maybe for them to investigate it more and come up with a fair decision. And that is the whole reason we here in the US are trying to do, like, so that, at least listen to, if you're not listening to the Sri Lankan people, maybe you will listen to the international community. That's what we are trying to achieve here.
Yeah, I mean, I know this. I mean, as you said, even the experts like Professor Malik Peers, I think,
Yep.
has came up with saying that there's no basis of not doing this burial and all that. And at the same time, I also find little hope, because there's some even leading Buddhist monks have come in favor
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
allowing people to
Mhm.
let them have burial or cremation. Because, as you said, this is not only about Muslims, this is about Christians, this would be other religions as well,
Mhm.
uh, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because even like the former president Chandrika Bandaranaike, she even talked about it. I think the opposition leader talked about it. I mean, everyone else have come out and spoken about it, but nothing has happened, So, and then we are like, okay, what can we do on our end from here? Especially me coming from a science background, I have, I studied at Holy Family Convent in Colombo for my high school, and I mean, rest of my education was in the US, and they've really like here, they train you, they teach you, they give you the best resources they possibly can. Even for me to be the lead scientist, they gave me the best resources. I mean, I worked on multiple outbreaks here. Like if you saw the latest outbreak last year, before Thanksgiving. It was a multinational outbreak. I was the one who isolated the E. coli 157. There was a papaya outbreak 2 years ago. I think it was on Al Jazeera and all across CNN and stuff. I'm the one who isolated the first salmonella out of that papaya. So we were able to like kind of, I was able to communicate with Virginia and the other states, kind of like they were able to, stop the outbreak. So it's like, but we work together even within the state. Like if Maryland finds something, then we kind of communicate with the other states, we communicate with the FDA, we work with the epidemiologist, to come up with a solution. So this is what we're asking. I know Sri Lanka may not be at the standard as the US, but maybe we can help out, like, as scientists who are here, but who were originated from Sri Lanka. Maybe we can help you out. And, if you need our help, we're here, use us as resources.
No, I think that's very good. I mean, I'm happy that at least you are offering this. I mean, obviously it's the government, they have to reach out to you. I know there are so many experts, Sri Lankan born experts all over the world, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I've worked with the EPA, I work with the USDA, I work with NARMS, National Antibiotic Resistance Monitoring Program. I have worked with Federal Emergency Response Networks, which is called FERN. I mean, they're using us like as resources. So I think, if they really want, they could reach out to us and we will be able to help.
Right. Like, in fact, I saw even some of the leading medical experts have said that the particular committee does not consist of the real experts. So it's a shame. I mean, in a way, when you have so many good people, but they're not using them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Even the medical doctors, like, in Sri Lanka, they've come out and said it as well. So that's what we're pleading, just listen to the experts, listen to the doctors, listen to the WHO, hopefully, they will listen to them and come up with a, compromise or solution where we can kind of like, respect each other's final rights, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I hope at least very recently, I think they have come up with this recommendation allow to us. At least they recommend to allow cremation, but again, it's the government. They have to
Has
make.
not, yeah. I saw that too, and they haven't responded. Like if you suggested, you asked the experts to research this, can come back to us. Why is it taking so long for you to say yes? Let's listen to the group who came up with the independent body, right? So, and they're a group of experts. So that's what we are saying, like, why aren't you listening to even the people you appointed to go find this out and come back to us?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a little discouraging. I mean, because we all want this to go away because this is unnecessary controversial.
And we don't want bad image. We don't want Sri Lanka, and this is I know, like, when I talk to my cousins or my family, my friends in Sri Lanka, it's very distressing. It's like a death is hard enough, and then to deal with the part of which is a traumatic situation already, and making it even more traumatic, it's like really and it's unacceptable. And that is why we all here, like, we feel like this is why can't the government have some kind of compassion, some kind of empathy, and some kind of sympathy towards these people, and do the best they can to, like, kind of alleviate, kind of like reduce their pain in this process.
Right. No, I mean, because this is this grieving process. I mean, that's everybody has to have that space, and I mean, as you said, scientifically, if there's some issue, obviously they have to deal with that. But if there's no scientific reason, then restricting this way is not very good.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're going to bury the person, you can wear N95 mask, wear the suit, and you can do that, right? You don't have to be so you can take precautions and then wash your hands, wear double gloves. I mean, I work with BSL-3 stuff here in the US, right? So I mean, that's what we do. And even I'm sure Sri Lanka can have that if they really need that, if they're really concerned. Even the process, taking the body to the burial to bury the body, So yeah.
Good. So are you planning anything in follow-up for what you have done last Saturday, or is that
Right now we have not. I mean, it's like I said, it's headed. Now we have a larger group. It started with three, and now it's a bigger group now, right? We have got more people onto the thing, but I don't know. Right now we are waiting. I think the ambassador has asked for them to give a letter, so I'm sure they'll write a letter and give it to him, but to give it to the president. But apart from that, we have not discussed what the next steps are, but we are hoping with this the government will listen, and before like they'll come out with a plan. That is the goal. I mean, this is the least we could do from our end here, so we did that. So we haven't decided yet what the next steps are yet.
Good, good, good. So yeah, again, we are happy that at least we got this opportunity to have a conversation, and again, I'm very proud of what you're doing as a scientist in USA and Maryland. And I hope, as you said, Sri Lankan government will reach out to you and use your expertise.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple people, I'm sure, myself, and I'm sure we have many experts here we can, reach out to, just like we organized the event in like less than a week. I'm sure we could do way more given the opportunity, but if they reach out to us, of course, anytime, especially my help is always there for Sri Lanka. If they ever need anything like using my expertise, I will definitely help them out the best way I can. My doors are open, my arms are stretched. Yeah, come, I'll help you. But yeah, so that is an open, yeah.
Good, good. So I hope at least, hopefully we can find a suitable solution for this issue, and hopefully people will have some peace, especially people who lost their relatives, for COVID, and they can pay their last respects in a way that's
Yeah.
appropriate with their religion and all that.
Yeah, I just hope so. The government looks at the long-term picture, because you don't want, like, I mean, we are educated individuals who, has a different view, right? And kind of, there could be people from the villages or certain areas. They may not have that, and we don't want to cause extremism in Sri Lanka. These things can add to extremism. This is what little things add up to being who they are. And you don't want to create that. We don't have that. And even if there were, maybe it's a small group of people, but you don't want to make it like everybody to like become that, oh my God, the government is oppressing us, right? We all have to, and you don't want that. You want everybody to live in peace, everybody to respect each other, all the religious rights. Sri Lanka is a great country. It's a heaven on earth. And I think, if we all work together, I think if we unite, we are great, right? We can make wonders. When we divide, that's when we all fall apart. So I think, unite together, I think we can make miracles.
Great. I think those are the words that we can end with this conversation. And again, Shenaz, thank you so much for joining with us, and wish you all the best. And hopefully we'll have another conversation if, maybe a different topic. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chitra, for giving me the opportunity and inviting me here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care. Okay. Thank you.